meeting to order, regular board meeting, August 18th. Can I get a roll call?
Yes, you can. Mr. Sterling?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. McKnight?
Present.
Mrs. McKinney?
Here.
Mrs. Carlson? Here. Mrs. Johnson?
Present.
Mrs. Meeks? Here.
Pam Cook, Recording Secretary.
Terrell Yarborough, Superintendent.
Shelley Wagner, Human Resources.
Rochelle, Curriculum and Instruction.
Jason Blue, Communications and Community Relations.
Josh Rand, Business and Operations.
And with that, can I get everybody to stand? Aaron, you want to lead us off?
I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Yarborough?
Approval agenda.
Yeah. Just seeing if you guys are paying attention. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Should we move it after? Motion. Second.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. McKinney?
Aye.
Mr. McKnight?
I got you. Aye. Still.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye. Mr. Sterling?
All right. And with that,
All right, thank
Dr.
you.
Yarborough.
The mission of the Harlem Consolidated School District as a vital part of the community is to help diverse learners realize their unlimited potential by providing an educational program dedicated to academic excellence and development of strong character in a safe and respectful learning environments.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve board meeting minutes?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Mr. McKnight?
Aye.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye. Mr. Sterling?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Jason Blue?
I'm out.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
Well, it is my pleasure this evening to recognize the 2025 U.S. High School Bowling Foundation's National Champions. It's not too often that every so often we get to see a familiar face once or twice throughout the year at our board meetings recognizing. Oftentimes it's for students that are maybe multiple sport athletes, but it's pretty rare that we get to recognize the same team twice within the same year. Well, really twice within a few months. This is a familiar group of young ladies that were recently here when we recognized them, I believe, in March, and so now we get the honor of recognizing them as national champions. Back in June, early June, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, they won the national championship, which is an incredible feat. I was telling the coaches that when I was looking at the list of all of the champions, I think there was 2 years in the last 10 where Harlem, either on the boys or girls side, wasn't in the top 8. Which is pretty incredible to have two programs that are so successful. Because the boys aren't here, I'll say it, the girls were on that list more frequently. It's pretty amazing accomplishments, but some familiar faces. We're excited too because we got a few that came back that even though they are not with us currently or anymore, as recent graduates, they're here to be celebrated as well. So I'm going to show the coaches so we can talk. You can set that down if you want. You guys are good? It's probably lighter in the bowling ball, right? Yeah. So I'm going to turn over the coaches and let them say a few words, and then we're going to have some introductions by our student athletes here.
Well, thank you guys for letting us come out again. Nationals is a little bit different than the state tournament. We start at 8 o'clock in the morning. We bowl multiple rounds and have multiple cuts out throughout the day. And this team, they don't do standings until you get done with the first round. So we weren't sure where we were. After the first round, we went back to the hotel and we finally got our standings and we were in first place by, I don't know, 110 or 130, something like that. And then we came back and cut after cut after cut after cut. These girls never lost the lead the entire day.
Wow.
And then at midnight, and I'm not exaggerating, we bowled in the championship.
Wow.
And the championships consist of the final 2 teams and they go back to 0. Well, these girls at midnight took the lead after the first game and never gave it back. And I believe I was telling them in the 5th frame of the 3rd game that they had won the national championship. So they took care of business. They were tired, they were exhausted, but hats off to them because it's a very long day for that tournament, and it's all Baker except for two traditional games at the beginning of the tournament. And then the rest of it, they all bowl 1 game. And it's just the way they do the tournament, which in my opinion works in our favor. Hence, this is our 6th national championship in the last 8 years. Congrats to them. I'll let them introduce themselves, and we can start down there with Ashley.
I'm Ashley and I'm a senior. I'm Alexis and I am also a senior.
I'm Sarah and I'm a sophomore. I'm Chloe and I'm graduating.
I'm Chloe and I also graduated.
I'm Kaylee and I'm a junior. I'm Haley and I'm a sophomore.
And then Allison Roberts is not here because she had to work, and she will also be a senior. So our starters come back for the most part, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we get a lot of freshmen to take these 2 spots, but we'll see what happens.
To our graduates, so what's your next step?
Yeah.
I'm going to Quincy University, and I actually move in on Wednesday, so.
Awesome, congratulations.
What are you studying?
What'd you say?
What are you studying?
Early childhood education.
As I always say, HR is right over here.
You didn't notice me all kind of
Knows
looked
the
over.
name, knows the
Let us
name.
know that you're looking for a job, and we'll be happy to, well, she will be happy to. Yeah.
That's right.
Chloe, the other Chloe?
I'm at Rock Valley for my CNA right now.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah, we're excited for the 2 of you, obviously as graduates, to see what you've accomplished in the coming years. To all of you, as you had to think about what grade you're actually going into starting tomorrow and the next day, we're excited to have you back another year. We look forward to seeing you guys kill it this year as well with your bowling season. To our coaches, obviously, as we said in years past, like it's such a testament. Like I know the girls have changed over the years, and new kids come and go, but to continually have a program that is successful like this is obviously a testament to the program that you all run, and you've got this pipeline going, and you've established a great thing, and we look forward to seeing that continue. So on behalf of the board, our community, our students, our staff, everybody, congratulations. You guys should be really proud of you. There's very few kids in this country that get to call themselves national champions in a sport, and then for some of you to be up here so frequently and have won so many times, and all that, it's pretty special. So congratulations to you.
And
all.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
I love all your teachers. I keep going down the line and going back. I like them. They're really pretty. And that
They're all
trophy is
different, nice
gorgeous.
flag. Yeah, love
You
it.
guys are amazing.
Sure are.
Well done. Absolutely, absolutely. So we're ready to go photo with our board. I don't even really want to, every year I'm like, here's my $1 certificate. Then we're gonna do something. So board members, if you come up, we're going to turn around and do a photo.
They're used to going.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, there's,
I might as well in the back.
I'm gonna go on the
We're
back.
supposed to have a full like pin set of just trophies.
I just like standing back there.
Get in there, quick, Kurt. I gotta make sure I see everybody's face.
Oh, yeah, you go in the back.
Yeah, that's all right.
We've done this a few times. No, sorry, I'll take one, I'll get away. Here we go, 1, 2, 3.
I like that you have huge
really tall, and you're taking it, I guess it's like, I'll pick my line up, I'm good, how are you? That's awesome.
You girls are amazing.
Yes, congratulations. Yes, hard work, absolutely. I'm rolling 150 on the
Isn't that weird?
They said they have 6.
That we're seniors?
Maybe they're 4 off.
6 out of 8.
Yeah.
6 out of the last 8.
4 more, I gotta literally go full pin set.
Oh, my gosh.
That's how we're gonna line all
You
this.
really need to have a cool, like, way of displaying them all, and like, it looks like a.
Yeah, we need to work on that. We'll talk to Reed for them, get them a pin set, so once they get their 10th one, now they
Set all the
set up like a stagger.
My fingers don't fit in my ball. I think
Bye, guys.
Thank
you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right, it's almost like Josh was gonna talk now.
Josh must be ready.
Everybody's going.
Oh, no, they need their hardware, Jason.
He did one job. We missed one. All right.
All right, everybody knew Josh was coming
So I
up.
did have one more, I totally forgot that one of the Chloe's is a former Rolfson student, so.
Oh, of course.
You got that in there.
That's all.
Go Road Runners.
That's right.
All right, with that, we have no comments from the community at the moment.
Yeah.
We'll turn it over to Josh for approval of the bills.
All right, thank you. Thank you for staying, you two. Yeah, they knew you were coming up and they're like, all right. The total payables this period were $3,829,927.59. There were 3 payrolls this period for a total amount of $10,433,761.12 for a total expense of $14,263,688.71. Split out by fund, the education fund paid $11,229,366.34. The operations and maintenance fund paid $651,744.42. The transportation fund paid $519,428.52. IMRF Social Security spent $370,469.63. Capital Projects Fund paid $608,613.58. And the Life Safety Fund paid $884,066.22. Again, for total expenditures of $14,263,688.71. Are there any unanswered bill questions?
One.
Sure.
Just the differences from the 2 different salaries. I mean, it's not much.
Sure. Rounding.
No,
Some of it's summer school, some of it's different payouts, and there's things that
Gotcha.
come and go.
that makes it, no, that's summer school, that's what that is, or July.
Oh, that one doesn't have a comma, that's why it
Yeah.
looks like it's so much more.
Missing a formatting with the dollar sign.
Yeah, no worries, that was my only thing. Is there any other questions?
No.
If there's no other questions, can I get a motion to approve the bills?
Motion.
Second?
Second. Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye. Mr. Sterling?
Hey.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. McKnight?
Yes.
And with that, we'll go into communications and committee reports. Hello, everybody.
Thanks for staying.
That's for you two. Well, school starts tomorrow. A long time coming, good things happening. I'm gonna set the kids and the teachers up for a good year, so this is gonna be good. I wanna mention that Home Depot donated some, what are they?
Sheds.
Sheds.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to go get them, so that was pretty cool.
And paint.
And paint.
I think they did paint for the mural as well.
Yes, they did. So I just want to mention that local business out there, I mean, I think they totaled it was like $4,000, so.
The sheds are for,
What?
the sheds are for,
I think athletics are gonna use them.
Yeah.
There's one I saw yesterday next to the main entrance to the football stadium.
I didn't know if that was something the kids were gonna build or something.
No, they're already built.
Rebuilt.
Yes.
put
They were hard to drive with, because they kept trying to fly
Oh,
away.
dear.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
They were hard to load and unload.
With that, we got another regular board meeting, September 8th at 2025. I want to give a big shout out to, I mean, obviously you saw our bowling students, the girls kicking butt, the boys did well, but the girls national champions 6 times in, you said 8 years?
That's what I heard.
Wow, like,
Yeah, well,
That's
that's
fast to get
amazing.
dynasty, like,
I
yeah.
know there's,
They are.
getting to state is accomplishment, but national champions, they're definitely going down in our record books, and they'll be on those flags and in our area, so that's awesome. But what's also awesome is our programs are coming back alive, so school is gonna be going, kids are gonna be learning, and we're gonna be able to bring kids doing academic things to an advance. So can't wait for that time. And with that, I will turn it over to Kurt Thompson.
Yeah, hey, thanks. Welcome back, everybody. You know, it's a new season. Bonnie Johnson bringing her and sharing her pins as always. And wow, I was like, all right, what's going on? Taking a list, and there is a lot that has been going on as we get ready. I'll do a couple of them here. A thank you to all the teachers and all the PTOs that are out there cleaning up all of our schools. They look absolutely amazing. Loves Park in particular, they have the mural. Dustin Eckhart, who did the middle school, did that. Looks phenomenal. Uses the paint from Home Depot, more community support, which is great. We have the Harlem Middle School. Their PTO did all new basketball hoops. Fantastic. Those look great as well. And just everyone's looking great. Not that you have enough as a teacher alone, but making sure your school looks nice on top of all that. And all the classrooms, if you're online, you get to see all the hard work that they're doing. Let's see here. Man, and then we had, what, a week ago? We couldn't keep Harlem off the news, so we had our middle school girls flag team was at Soldier Field performing at halftime. Playing, yes, sorry.
Performing.
Yes, that's I do the sports well.
I know sports.
Yes. So that was fantastic. And then the same day, we had the Harlem High School choir that won with the community support. Not that they needed, they were amazing. Performed at the 400 concert.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I don't know if there's official videos, but there's a bunch of them floating out online. If you weren't there to see it, it is fantastic. Maybe we can get them to come in and sing some Foreigner.
There you go.
That would be awesome.
Back to the
I like where you're going with it.
And there's so much, I'm gonna skip through some if I can. Our culinary, $1,000 scholarship for the Joey Fici Foundation, which was great. Happened over here during the summer. We've got our buses. Thanks to everyone, they helped to get those right. Our electric buses, that is. We got to check those out. It's going to be a fantastic addition to our schools. We've got the routes for those, which is great. We had Stuff the Bus, which I'm sure someone's going to mention that was able to help out some of those. Man, there was just a lot of stuff on here. I'm going to say it again. And all our summer projects. Did everyone make it, Josh? Did anything miss? We got our roofs, chillers, auditorium is in progress right now. We had a really busy summer.
So the roof's
Backstop is going, but that's not there yet.
The roof's like another week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the backstop's a week and a half. So those ones that didn't make it, like baseball wasn't needed.
Kids are still able to come to school.
Yeah.
Nothing bringing them, making sure, the chiller's a big one. Everyone was
The cooler got done in time at the middle school. So
cooler at the middle school. It was just a busy summer, so just calling out, the hard work to make sure that got done and scheduled so that our kids could have the best possible experience at their nice looking schools. I'm sure there's a couple other ones I'm not calling out so I don't steal everyone's thunder, but I did steal a lot there. But yeah, looking forward to a great year. We've got a bunch of great stuff coming from here. I think with the Education Committee, all the stuff that we have for the new course schedules, it's our second year, the 6th graders coming in, so it's going to be the improvements and seeing their successes. I'm just excited for the year. Not that anyone else isn't, but it's going to be a great year. We're going to be here to watch it. Besides that, of course, we have got our Business Services Committee, which is the committee of the whole. The next one meeting right back here, September 3rd. So come out here, see Josh. It'd be great.
Yes,
All right. And that completes my report. There you go. Bye.
All right. Hello, everybody. I want to
Thank
ditto
you.
on everything that Kurt and Mike said. It's been really I think we're going to really have a good year this year as far as, all our different sports. I did get a chance to go to the Harlem Palooza yesterday, but I was late because I had other things to do, but I did get a chance to see the last 15 minutes of it. It was a really good show. But I also got a chance to see the different dance teams at the different levels and the cheerleaders. And I think we're going to have awesome cheerleaders this year from the middle school and high school, JV, varsity, and the dance. And did I say cheerleaders already? Cheerleaders, dance team. They were really good out there. It was just really nice coming out yesterday just to walk around and look at the grounds and see how smooth and clean it was. Just nice. And so I just want to wish everybody in our district a safe school year, a fun school year, making friends, meeting new people, a very, very highly education. I think our teachers will make sure that our students are getting the education they need, and if they need help, they will send them to the proper places that they need to go to get that help. And I just want our students to know that don't be afraid to ask. If you have any questions, ask. Just, you got to start trying to trust people. And I think we are definitely building upon trust. And that's why I love this district, and I love everyone that's in it. And I think we're going to have a wonderful, amazing school year. So I think that's all I have to report. So our next Equity and Social Justice meeting will be September 3rd. And once again, good luck, everybody. Can't hide that Harlem Husky pride.
I like that. Aaron McKnight.
All right, so I don't have much. Just so everybody can see, this is Kurt's list.
I can't read my
I
handwriting.
can't read the handwriting, but there was a lot of thunder there, and I appreciate Kurt's attention to detail on that. But yes, our girls bowling team, I think they're in the process of building a special wing for all their trophies. If not, that's going to be something down the road. And I also went to Harlem Palooza, and I was there on time. I'm just kidding. It was a great event, and I will say this: if you weren't able to make it, sorry, Evelyn. If you weren't able to make it, the Harlem Music Boosters are still accepting donations on their website. So if you weren't able to make it, one thing that hit me, I was talking to Jeremy Toledo, who is one of our music teachers and puts on this Harlem Palooza. And we actually had a former student, her name was Luna Lane. This is when I happened to get there. She was actually playing guitar and singing, and she had a beautiful voice. And her dad, she introduced her dad, and he was playing, I don't know what they call it, like the beatbox or a drum box. It's basically the wooden box with that they play like a drum. I don't know what it's called, but huh?
A cajon.
Is that what it's called? Well, thank you.
Trivia points.
Yes. And so I was talking to Jeremy, and I'm like, is she a former student? And he's like, yeah, actually, funny story. She actually took, I can't remember if he said as a freshman or a sophomore, she actually took the guitar class and learned how to play the guitar completely through Harlem and sounded absolutely wonderful. He's like, and those are the success stories that we have at the Music Boosters. So that's why I kind of want to give them a plug. It was a great event, and they are still accepting donations and everything. So to continue to do that and build our music program, because it's come in the 2+ years I've been on the board, the music program's grown substantially. Also, I want to, first of all, I want to wish everybody a great school year. Right now, I'm really thinking about our elementary teachers with the new curriculum. I just want to say, I want to say, hold on, it's going to be great. Change is tough. And your students are resilient, and if there's any mistakes made, they will learn just as good. This is a curriculum that not only that, how many people really pulled that curriculum? I mean, how many people, there was a whole team of 50 plus. Yeah. So this is a curriculum, we looked at many things, and this is one of the things that I'm most excited about this school year is to see where that takes our elementary students. And it, you know, at the end of the day, we can hope for a good year, but you got to make it a good year. You know, it's up to you. It's up to all of us. It's the community. It's the staff. It's the students. You know, we can make it a good year. We're going to make it a good year, and you know, just hold on. There's so much great things that are going to happen in this district this year, and I'm excited to see where it ends. With that being said, that is my report.
Thank you, sir. Rebecca Carlson.
Thank you. Welcome to our, I guess, our last meeting before school starts. It'll be exciting to see school start. It's been fun at home watching our bus drivers practicing their routes and checking out the new stops. And, you know, now that our seniors are gone and our kindergartners are starting, they're buzzing around trying to figure out where they're going. So it's kind of fun to watch them. Congrats to the girls bowling. I'm lucky to bowl 100 in the game, so it's amazing to see them go off to state and have a blast doing that. Congratulations to our 2 seniors, and may they have a fantastic future, bowling or not. That'd be fantastic. I want to say thanks to our teachers who have come in and done some training and gone crazy trying to figure out all of this new curriculum for our young people, so that's kind of fun to see. And I want to say thank you to our administration who sits here for 12 months and does great work, working all the time, and doesn't get, you know, 3 months off and gets to take their vacations, but they're always working and doing a great job. And last but not last, scholarships. I appreciate all of our scholarship people. We've got tons of them. I know that our seniors go through tons, not only for the schools, but for colleges, for all the great things that they offer for scholarships. And last but not least, the solar field is busy, really busy up there. It's cool to see. Drive down that way almost every 3 or 4 days, and it's, wow, trucks and fences, and it's just, it's so cool. I want to go in there and go, what are you going to do with all this stuff? But
They're going to make electricity.
well, yeah, they are, but it's, of course, with all the rain, they're probably on a little bit of a lull for a couple of days. But other than that, just, hey, let's have a great year and keep moving upward. So with that, it's all yours.
Policy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forget the policy all the time.
The biggest part of the whole meeting.
Yes, well, it's a recommendation to approve the first reading of policy updates from August 13, 2025, Policy Committee. And we also will have a policy meeting. It's all the way at the bottom. There's so many. It's to be determined. Let's see, and I don't know if it's going to be any. I'm the only one they're taking out of there for determination, but no, that's okay. So it will be September 3rd if it comes around, so.
Good. Thank you so much. Diana Johnson.
Thank you. Well, once again, I'd like to congratulate the girls bowling team also. That's an awesome thing. Actually, one of the coaches lives across the street from me, so that's exciting. But I'm very excited for the girls, and 6 out of 8 times is awesome.
Huge.
I'd just like to remind people, too, that on Thursday, we do have our Orange and Black Night coming up.
Yeah.
So at the high school from 5:30 to 8. It's kind of like a big pep rally in a way. We can see all the teams and all the cheerleaders and the dance squads and things. So it's going to be a really nice event, so try to attend that. And then our first football game, Go Huskies, is Friday night, I understand, against Woodstock. At Woodstock, is it? Yeah, at Woodstock. So that's always a great event, so be sure to watch that. I did want to mention, I went to the Harlemites breakfast. You know, I'd like to kind of put a plug in for that. The Harlemites have a breakfast once a month at the VFW at Windsor and Alpine. At 8 o'clock in the morning. It's $10 a person, but it's all the Harlemites. I mean, there's a lot of from older classes, but some younger classes too. But we had almost 100 people in August. So it's a great event to get together with some of the older alumni and hear their stories and things. But it's kind of neat to see all the Harlemites keeping together and interacting with each other. We had National Night Out the first Tuesday of August that I attended here at the high school, at Harlem High School. It's been a great event the last few years at the high school, so we appreciate, everyone appreciates having it at the high school. It's a very nice place to have it with the fire departments and police departments and everything, dog canine units doing demonstrations and things. So everyone had a great time there on Tuesday night. And then I was at the bus event the next day, and there was a lot of turnout for that. That was a great event too, and a lot of things getting donated from the community there. So that was another great event. So that's about what I have for right now. So I just want to remind everybody what we do have coming up, and good luck to everyone attending school. I know it's going to be an exciting day for everyone starting back teachers and staff and students. So, like I say, try to get out and enjoy the things we have on Thursday and Friday. Let's back our sports teams too. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Pam?
I just want to say welcome back to all the students and the teachers and the Harlem staff. This is supposed to be a really great time and a really exciting time. It was always my favorite time of the school year to start and get to know everybody. And it was exciting, but yet it was overwhelming. And yet, once you got into it, it's like, it was fabulous. You're back in after a long summer, even though you did a lot of training and a lot of workshops and things like that. But it's always great to walk in that door and see those bright, shiny faces looking at you. And you have to start right away, and let's go. It's really great. I also want to congratulate the Harlem High School Choir. Foreigners was my favorite band when I was growing up. I've seen them several times in concert, so I was really excited that the high school choir got to appreciate that and perform with them. I also went to National Night Out. That was my first that it's been since at Harlem High School. I used to go to the Village over here, and then when it was at Loves Park. So it was very interesting. My husband went with me. We were kind of excited about what was going on. I guess I really hadn't experienced it for such a long time. The dogs are fabulous to see the dogs perform. And there's so much for the community. A lot of the kids were so excited about doing all the activities with the games and stuff and winning little prizes, so that was kind of cool. Haven't had a hot dog in a long time, so that was kind of interesting. Enjoyed that. Yeah, and then once again, congratulations to all the new teachers and all the new staff that anybody has moved positions, and I hope you all have a great and wonderful and positive school year. And our next Education Committee meeting is September 3rd, 2025.
Thank you so much. And with that, we're rolling into administrative reports. Dr. Michelle Earp.
Thank you. So speaking of our education committee meeting, at the last one, we spent a large amount of our time going over each building's school improvement plan. Everyone except for the middle school in Loves Park, because the board had already approved theirs and we did theirs earlier. So tonight I'm asking for approval from the board for the school improvement plans that were presented Wednesday night at the education committee meeting.
We're all aligned.
That we're all aligned.
Way to bring that back.
I was going to, and I thought, no, I'll let it go. But you can bring it back.
You definitely should have.
I was going to.
Reference, I will appreciate that.
Put that in my report.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We need throwbacks to the meeting. Maybe more people will come and they'll go, oh, that's what they're talking about. Yeah.
We're just going to get a shirt that says all
Josh Ray.
All right, thank you very much. The first item tonight is a recommendation to approve a resolution declaring surplus property for the Harlem Administration Center, Parker Center, and McChesney Elementary. Next, I have a recommendation to approve facility request with Harlem High School for the HOCO kickoff party next month. Homecoming.
Oh, okay.
Middle school cheer is choreography in the small gym at the middle school. I did put a newer rental down for Renegades Football Club. This one date got declined, so it never made it through the process, so it popped back up today. So everything, we took that date off and are requesting to bring it tonight. So those are the facility requests that I have this evening. Any questions on those? Okay, next is a recommendation to adopt a resolution to place a school facility sales tax referendum on the ballot. And there's a lot to this, so I'm going to kind of just read some of the notes that I have here, and then you guys can have any questions that you want. So this evening I'm recommending that the Board of Ed approve the resolution regarding the county school facility sales tax. And I did want to clarify a few points for the record since I did the presentation on Wednesday. That by adopting this resolution, it would act as a show of support for RPS's adoption of the resolution, since they have more than 50% of the students in the county, which is required to move this to a question on the ballot next March. I also wanted to note that the CFST would not apply to cars, trucks, boats, RVs, mobile homes, unprepared food, and pharmacy drugs, and that the revenue generated from this tax wouldn't be used for operating expenses. So in December of 2024, the board received the facility assessment and 10-year life safety survey, which reflected project needs of over $100 million. And over the 18 years that I have been here, we worked hard to do as many projects as possible and keep the buildings and facilities in the best condition as possible. But the reality is The district doesn't receive funds for construction projects specifically. Those are typically funded by bonds, which are paid by property taxes. And this funding system struggles to keep up with the needs of the buildings. That puts 100% of the burden on our community and taxpayers. This facility sales tax offers the district and Winnebago County a unique opportunity for us to keep our over 1 million square feet of buildings and many other outdoor areas in good condition and keep our buildings running comfortably and safely. I believe it was Kurt that said it best at Wednesday night when he said the facility sales tax creates a system of haves and have-nots, county by county, and I couldn't agree with that assessment more. I think that's exactly what is happening. We have 3 options moving forward in regards to our facilities. We can move forward with this plan and have the ability to properly fund building updates and repairs. We can continue to do what we have been doing now and taking out bonds and increasing the property taxes, or we can do nothing and let the buildings fall into disrepair. And if we select this option, we will continue to see what happened at the Ralston Chiller happen throughout the district. It's critical that we continue to update boilers, chillers, and fire alarms specifically. Those need to be done in the next handful of years. Many of our boilers are at the 30-year-old age, and while it's inconvenient for a chiller to go out and not having air conditioning, if a boiler goes out, we will not have the ability to have school in that building for most likely a year based on how long those replacement times are currently. I don't say this to try and scare anyone into approving this, it's just the reality of what our buildings need. It was also mentioned that we have not built a building in 50 years. The buildings are aging. And like I said, we've done the best we can trying to keep everything as up to date as we can. Some of the questions I've had some questions about the district and how a tax abatement would work. Would it really abate taxes and what would happen down the road? So I wanted to just talk about that for a little bit. If RPS 205 approves this resolution at their board meeting and the question goes to the taxpayers and is approved, we would begin to receive those dollars roughly next October. So it would start July 1st, dollars in October. Once we have the funds to abate the debt service portion of the property taxes, which is today the 2.7 million, or just over 5%, I reached out to PMA and they said that whatever we would have in that account by March is what we could abate, which is almost right on for that abatement amount. It would be really close. Whether we pass this resolution or not, the district still needs the cost of living within the tax levy, as we've seen for salaries and health insurance and all of those things. So either way, typically we would ask for the CPI. But in the second scenario, the debt service amount would be 2.7 million less than that. And so going forward, that would be the money we use for projects. So abating through the tax levy is a process that's done here at this board table. And so that happens in a public meeting in front of everyone. So if we say we're going to abate those tax dollars, that's what I would do and that's what this board would uphold. We would abate those tax dollars. So that would happen out in the public.
Can you rephrase that in very, very simple terms?
Yeah, tax abatement is not.
So I know,
Yeah.
I want
Sure.
everybody, I want you to say, hey, if this passes here,
Yes.
property tax will go here.
So we levy property taxes in all of our funds. One of them is debt service or paying back our bonds. That is the $2.7 million. So if this passes and we all go out on the record that we're going to use that money to pay down that debt, when the tax time comes, we would abate or not levy that amount on the property taxes.
The levy would go down if this passes and we.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that that's clear, so any way we go about it, we're paying it, it's where we're paying.
But to your point and what I'm trying to say, the CPI would still be there. So you may not see a 5%, it's 5% over what it would have been, but there's a couple moving things there. So
I just wanted it to be clear.
Sure, yeah, 100%.
Thank you.
With that though, if, this is the sticking point as well, if we don't abate that 2.75, we already have to do these projects.
Correct.
That's, so now.
These aren't bonus projects.
We'll add that 2.75 onto the levy.
Correct.
Because we're already paying the bonds.
So essentially
And we'll have to
it's
pull 2.75 of bonds because we're not getting that revenue from somewhere else.
Correct.
So therefore.
I'm hitting that in my next paragraph.
I was just trying to get that summarized.
So To Mike's point, if the facility sales tax ends up not moving forward or not being approved by the taxpayers, then in looking at what that boiler, chiller, fire alarm, and I think we need to add the parking lot at the high school, because in the next few years, it's looking like it needs to be replaced. That's approximately $20 million. And if we only have a way to do that through the tax levy, I had PMA up to date, what would that look like, just hypothetically? And they said that that would add $2 million to the property taxes. So you have the 2.7 plus the 2. So the debt service would then be 4.7 million versus 0 in the sales tax. So as been stated, according to the sales tax report that the ROE received, we can move forward with a plan that our taxpayers have the opportunity to have its facilities mainly paid for by consumers of other counties. For example, Boone County is currently doing this, or use the bonds and 100% of our taxpayers. So what we are asking is that the board approve the resolution to allow the taxpayers to have a say in how their tax dollars are spent.
I think one of the things that, hope it's okay for me to say this, but as I was playing around with it, because I heard the 5% decrease on my taxes, so I'm like, ooh, my ears perked up to that. Like, you know, as a taxpayer, like, for me, let's say it's roughly $300 a year that I'm gonna save, a 5% decrease in my house. Like, that's the equivalent, though, of me spending $30,000 in these types of goods that, so not groceries, not RVs or, you know, automobiles, those types of things, like, that's a lot, that's just a break even. So if I'm gonna reduce by 300, it's $30,000 of me spending in the course of a year to offset that. And so, to me, that's a big deal because, not to disclose too much personal information, but I don't think I'm spending $30,000 on those types of goods throughout the year. Like, most of my expenses are groceries and, you know, some of the other bills and stuff like that. So that to me kind of resonated with just really that offset piece as I look at my own property taxes.
That is an important point too, because everyone comes into this at a little bit different angle. You could be a renter and you may not see property. You could pay high or low, you know what I mean, and how much people shop. So everyone's impact will vary a little bit throughout the.
And if you guys vote to put this on the ballot, which I want to emphasize, we're just trying to put it in the hands of our taxpayers so that they can make a decision, right? But between now and then, though, we will be having sessions to talk about it some more and give all the information that we can get. Because Josh did a wonderful job of just researching all of this, but also making sure, though, that moving forward, too, that we can continue to educate. Because even between the questions that were asked in the COTW meeting to now, Josh got a lot of those questions answered. And so we'll continue to do that if, again, you vote to put this on the ballot.
Halls, or definitely some local town halls that. Yeah.
I've said it before, students are investments, right? So you gotta keep them warm, safe, and dry. These aren't, we're gonna do that, and we either have the choice of going to our taxpayers, like we always do, ourselves included, or doing this and at least getting the potential assistance from all the reasons people wanna come to Harlem. So if we can do that, and we have to pay for these things regardless, otherwise our kids suffer, our investment suffers, we don't see that great turnout. I would like to have additional assistance besides just putting it all on the taxpayers that are just here locally. And this is an option to do it. Also, I mean, you look at Winnebago County, we're part of it, we're not the biggest part of it. So realistically, we're showing our support, but it's gonna come down to RPS. So, like I say, it looks promising. You talk to other districts that have done it, has really helped them cover this. And again, what are you gonna do? This is stuff that needs to be done. 50 year, your youngest building is 50 years old?
I think the best part of, if this were to pass, I think the best part of it is we have people from other communities paying for improvements to our schools.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say, you know, I worked on the 1% sales tax referendums that we had done, 2 for McChesney Park, 1 for Loves Park, and at least over 50% of the people that shop the 173 corridor and Riverside Boulevard don't live in the Harlem School District. They don't live in McChesney Park and Loves Park. They'll be helping us pay for this, and they're not even, you know, not even on with our schools, but they'll be helping pay for it. And I think it's great that we're going to put it on the ballot and let the people decide.
Yeah.
But it's really a great thing because we're very fortunate. I did talk to the village and ask them And year-to-date, the sales tax in Machesney Park is up 15% this year, year-to-date, and Les Park is up 10%.
The revenue from the sales tax?
Right.
Okay.
So they're doing very well, both communities are, and if they continue to do that, that'll be, you know, the sky's the limit as to what we can truly get in. So,
Yeah, but we have to be careful as well, just as a,
Both have their.
I mean, I have a business in Loves Park that is not, is 173 adjacent, and I am part of the 173 TIF district. Amazingly, I don't know how that it came over and just captured Little
Well, you're in Loves
Rasmus.
Park, right, yeah.
But I'm, so I'm already at 9.75. This puts me at almost 11%. But this is just me.
Yeah.
But many businesses are gonna be like me that are going to be going up if this happens.
Right, but it will be in Rockford too. I mean, Rockford has to pass this, so instead of just being us.
Well, Rockford is at 7.25 for most of theirs.
And
So
they have the
or
road tax
700.
though too.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah.
for most of their areas, they go up, they're at 8.25, whatever.
Yeah.
That means people coming into Loves Park, that's almost a difference of 3% just to come into some of our businesses. I hope that doesn't affect people negatively.
Yeah, I don't think so, but yeah, I got you, so.
Okay.
I thought Rockford was at 8.75.
8.75.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then there's certain areas of Rockford that are TIFs that are already.
Yeah, those ones are already like TIF districts like me.
Right.
Special use permit.
I know this can help. I understand that this is helpful, but I obviously have to be one that goes the opposite direction, because I know for years and years and years and years and years and years, ever since we moved back to Rockford land, it has been, well, we're gonna do this with 1%, we're gonna do that with 1%, we're gonna put up the jail, and then we're gonna put the county building, and then we're gonna do the for the roads, and then we're gonna do for the stores, and then we're gonna do, and they've done it in Rockton, and they've done it in, you know, I think Roscoe's the only one in the local area that has not done the 1%. Now, we don't have a lot of businesses, but there are plenty of them that it's
They're
getting to the
part of the
point where.
referendum for Hanamiga, so there's that 1%.
Yeah, and they've had that as, that's what I say, and then they've done that up in Rockton as well. Well, Roscoe, the village of Roscoe, sorry, not the Roscoe
Bristol
Township.
County.
But, what's that?
They're gonna be part of this as well.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. But the point I have is that I know personally that people are just sick and tired of having another percent, another percent, another percent, and it gets to the point where it's a dime on every dollar. It's just gonna be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna start shopping in Beloit and spend 5% at the Walmart up there and the Menards up there, and it's just, it's getting tiresome. It's just the way it comes to me, is like he's saying 9.75 on every purchase, and that's.
But you're okay then with our property tax?
Well, I
increase?
understand that, I understand it's gonna, it's gonna go back and forth with our property, but it just,
Yeah,
it gets to
and
the
to call
point.
out, Josh specifically said
Yes,
where the
and I
money has to go.
understand.
So just to make
There-
sure that's crystal clear, it's not a slush fund
right,
where this
right,
is
I
going. Because
understand.
I'm right there with you. We've all
understand.
gone through it's gonna be great, our kids are gonna get it, and you leave it vague at that. But this is very specific to where those funds go.
And I understand that, I just
I
know
think
that
they
it's
all
just,
have to
it's just gotten.
I think it's great that we let the voters decide.
That's,
So
yeah,
that's-
yeah.
At the end of the day, that's all we're
It's all
approving
on the
today is let the
ballot.
We vote
voters
on the ballot,
decide.
that's all we're asking for tonight, is to get it out there on the ballot and let them decide.
It's gonna get out there whether we agree to it or not.
I understand.
It's gonna be on the ballot whether we agree to it
Or
or
we
not.
got, when Rockford has to pass it
Dug their
first
heels
too.
in.
Yeah.
Rockford, it's all up to Rockford.
I think that's part
Rockford.
of my issue, is that we don't need to be following in Rockford's footsteps.
Well, no, but
because
they
they've
have
been-
to.
Yes, I understand.
I guess
Just the whole,
We-
just,
yeah,
you know,
we
you
have-
just feel like you're a tail on the, but
that's
either
the
way,
way.
that was
I
just.
mean, it's not an easy choice, I will
No,
give
of
that.
course
Like,
not.
but you just still, like, it comes down to,
Yep. Oh,
we're
yeah.
not going out so that, as much as I'd love to put, a bowling alley in a high school, right? Like, that'd be cool. This isn't anything like this.
No, of course
This
not.
is the most
But if
boring
anybody needs a
Right.
bowling
necessities that we have to do.
That'd be in that new wing to hold the trophy.
Yes.
Well, and I think it might even be something that we could do, that we make a priority list and we can show
Oh, yeah,
that.
We have, there's the binder.
Right,
Have you
exactly.
seen the binder that's about that
Right, and
thick?
so, but I mean, we print that to show people exactly when it's the money, this is what's gonna happen and what school it's gonna happen in, so they know where
It's
they're.
online.
It's available. I mean, during election season, it was a big topic of, right, of like, this stuff is coming.
Yeah.
What plans do we have to pay for this? Where does things get prioritized? And this is up to the voters, but like,
Yeah.
at least it's an option. There's people that are looking into that. And I don't, again, one way or the other, I think we need to push this and allow the voters to pick.
Right.
Rockford's gonna do it one way or the other, that's true, but we can at least give our support, at least let people know where that money would go and how that money's gonna be used. And it's not, the kids are gonna get it. How? You're right, like, this is a very specific case for
I
that.
just think it's up to the voters at the end of the day. I
End
think
of the
it's
day,
something that
right.
we put in front of them and they can educate themselves on it. Just kind of like the mental health, or the 50, you know, the
Yeah.
small tax for mental health. Voters were educated about it, they decided that was a good idea.
Right.
I think at the point in time, we put this in the voters' hands
Yeah,
Yep.
and let the voters decide. And there's gonna be groups that are gonna be for it and against it, and they're both gonna speak their sides, and at that point in time, we get to make a choice. We're not saying, hey, this is going through, we're saying,
Oh, of
hey,
course not.
you guys,
You guys
Yeah, you guys
decide,
make
yeah.
it.
you guys decide.
Yep.
Us, we decide.
We-
Yeah, as voters.
Yeah.
Great information.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well put together, Josh, thank you.
Thank you.
I hate to.
Next is a recommendation to approve a one-year agreement with HMH Amira for the purchase of student licenses for grades 1 and 2 at a cost of $12,600 paid with title grant funds. And I'll just roll that right into the next one if you guys have questions. So 11B5 is a recommendation to approve a one-year agreement with HMH Waggle for the purchase of student licenses for grades 3 through 5 at a cost of $21,150 paid with title grant funds.
Such fun names.
Any questions on those?
Teachers getting excited for the Amira.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. All right, now I'm going to present the FY26 tentative budget.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get it to pop up the first time.
Of course you can. Look at that technology.
Got it.
So, see?
See, I think I got the right one. It's kind of there.
It's movie time, I need a cookie. It's just some popcorn.
Do you have it here?
We got cookies.
Right
Yeah. What's that cookies?
now. All right. Okay, so the agenda for this presentation is I'll go through the budget timeline, talk a little bit about where FY25 ended up, get some highlights in ed, O&M, transportation, and then just show healthcare cost, bond payment schedule, and then FY26 projected fund balances. And then I'll go through that spreadsheet, kind of get the highlights, take any questions you guys. I mean, ask any questions at any point. So, tonight I'm asking the board to adopt the FY26 budget. It'll go on display tomorrow and stay on display through September 22nd, of which at that time we will have a public hearing at 5:40, as long as the board approves that. Just going over the changes from the tentative to the final budget. And at that meeting, regular board meeting that evening, I would ask the board to adopt the FY26 budget. So where did we end up? These aren't audited, but most of the entries are done. The ed fund did end up at a deficit of 4.4 million, which is quite a bit more than we were trending most of the way. That is and I'll go through it more in detail, but in general, there were some numbers that came in under, salaries came in a little bit over, and health insurance came in quite a bit over, makes up a good majority of that. Education and transportation were the only two funds that came in essentially worse than budget, and transportation, almost all of that was the ISB funding that we had talked about, and so that will fix itself for this current year. So TORC came in a little bit better. O&M came in a little bit better, but that was because the vehicle timing, they were in, but we didn't get them in time. So IMRF was better. Everything else was okay from that standpoint. So this is just a property tax summary of what we levy, what CPI is, what the tax rate is. So you notice in 2019 and 2020, in 19 it goes down 3.7 million. That was property tax relief grant. The next year, we brought the bonds from like 6 million down to 2 million. So in 2 years in a row, we tried to cut that the best we could. In 23, we did. 23 and this year, we're abating the property tax relief grant money again in there. So doing what we can to try and save taxpayer dollars whenever we can. You notice the rate went from 8.1 to 5.65. So CPPRT, we've talked a lot about that in the last year and a half or 2 years. And so that came in at 3.7 million, which is a decrease of 1,968,000, or 34% this year. I mentioned last meeting we had some positive news. CPPRT is projected to go up 2.4%, or 89,000. Now, I took the Department of Labor's estimate and I put that in the budget. Some districts cut another 10% off, but I feel like just putting in what they have, at least we're backed by an actual projection on that. But it could be more, it could be less. Like, we literally see that all the time. CPPRT is part of our evidence-based funding calculation, so when they look at our percentage funded, they look at property taxes and CPPRT. So when that goes down, that lowers our funded percentage, which helps us. And this is the understatement of the night. CPPRT is not a consistent revenue.
Captain Obvious over there.
As exampled by this. So even in 2017, it went up $1 million and then back down 900,000. And so this has been a tricky one to project out in any kind of future years. Although I think it is a positive note because originally I had a $300,000 or $400,000 decrease this year that they're showing. Maybe this is the bottom where it does go up a couple percent a year after that, hopefully. But they don't really give good reasoning why it does what it does. So this is evidence-based funding. So if you look here, this is a little bit of part of our revenue struggle too. It does note that in 21 and 25, you can't really see 21 went up because of the property tax relief grant, and that's what that 25 bump is. So if you look at 22 to 23, it goes up $200,000, which is not a lot out of 32 million bucks. The next year, it goes up to about $400,000. So we're talking about a $92 million budget, and we're getting even 400,000. That's not a very good main source of bump keeping up with. I mean, in those years, you're looking at inflation of, what was it, 13.5% those couple of years. So this year we got 645,000 more, which was, I only had 600 in there, so that is 45,000 more than we had, but still not a ton. This is our revenue breakdown. This is now that the ESSER funds are gone, and that's one thing too to kind of note that last year was the first year that we didn't get any ESSER funds. So when that happened, I think the ESSER was hiding a little bit of how that inflation was real. And we talk about inflation, but some of those things like those softwares we talk about, when all that was gone, it stood out a little bit more to me. So federal funds right about 10%. That's historically where we are unless there's some kind of big stimulus dollars coming in. And then ed fund expenditures. So 86.
Can you go back?
Yeah, sure.
I just want to show that 41% from the state. Right. Is at the behest of our governor's budget.
Is that what?
That's what we get from when the governor does his budget. And he says education is now going to get $465 million. You guys split it up in your pies.
Yeah.
Just letting everybody know that's where that 41% comes from. So when that went from here down to here, and now you guys got to figure it out, that's where a lot of this funding problem comes. We get 41% of it from the state.
So from a salaries and benefits standpoint, 86.6% of our ed fund budget is salaries and benefits. The rest is building, department, and grant budgets in there. And we do have outplaced tuition, which is almost $3.3 million too, as an other. That's that 3.5%. So 21 through 24, we had more revenues than expenditures. So unfortunately, that flipped in 25. You know, some years, when I look at 24, I had budgeted originally a $500,000 excess. It came in at $3 million. The year before, we were right on. This year, it felt like everything that made a difference went to the negative for some reason. And it's unfortunate that that was what happened this year, that everything kind of hit that way. So we went from a negative $1 million fund balance many years before up to the 23, and we're projected to be at about 15.7 at the end of this year. Operations and maintenance is pretty much all local funds. That 8.7 is a transfer to just cover the remaining projects that we just talked about that we're finishing up for this year. And then this is a breakdown. Obviously, salary and benefits are a big one there, but they also have the gas, electric, water. They have a lot of those utilities in here too. And they've kind of been bouncing a little bit excess deficit kind of thing, but their fund balance in general has stayed pretty steady. This one is because those vehicles didn't come in, like they were in, but they couldn't get them to us in time, so that looped into the next year. We've also been using that group from, I think they're from Belvedere, to help fill the positions. We're starting to fill those custodial positions, but we also, through that last bargaining, had to bump that to get people. So that will level out a little bit more next year. Excuse me. Transportation. So the local is the property taxes, the state is that state reimbursement. And as you notice, Don has a big slice of sale of equipment. He got $810,000 on bus sales this year, which is like $500,000 more than he's ever gotten before. But no good deed goes unpunished because the state will take 70% of that back in their calculation. But $800,000 in bus sales is a positive. And so this is their revenues or the expenditure breakdown, and the 29.3% is buses. That looks like a really big chunk because I had to show the cost of the electric buses and the revenue, even though it nets out to pretty much zero. I still had to reflect that in each side of it. And so kind of the same thing as O&M. This one will look even more up and down. So this was that drop. So we had more buses and the drop in revenue. That bounces back this year. So in this number is less vehicles, more reimbursement, higher state reimbursement on that. I anticipate once we get to next year that that will smooth itself out and hopefully be balanced or have a slight excess in there. But they're looking at a fund balance of $3.7 million, which is almost half of their expenses. So that fund balance is okay for them. So this is the projection. So right now the ed fund is projected at 2.9, which is about $1.5 million better than where we ended last year. Tort at 24,000. Tort will, I think, balance itself within the next year, is my guess. O&M will be closer to zero next year. Debt service is kind of floating along. The interest right now is really giving that fund. Otherwise, typically it's a 0 or 10,000, but the strong interest is helping debt service. So transportation, and I'll talk about this, I have a $350,000 proposed transfer to the ed fund one time for this year to help cover the additional workbook cost. So if transportation has it and it can help offset that one time, I thought that would be good for the ed fund. IMRF Social Security, that is a planned spend down because over the 3 years before that, it had like a $900,000 excess because, and this is good, IMRF keeps lowering the rate. That happens mid-year. So this deficit has been, we've been talking about this for a few years, and this is the year it finally kicked in there because they haven't enough fund balance for a while to kind of roll above that range. Capital projects is just paying down the projects that we have. That's fine. This $52,000, I should have budgeted that as the next flooring portion. So in the final budget, I'll just take that 52 and call that the first half of flooring if we want to keep doing that. Working cash, we don't really have any transfer out. And then life safety, that is projection to finish the roofs, the dust collection system, and then I have $75,000 as others. We start to pull in what those next projects will be for life safety. So healthcare trends aren't going to look that high here. I mean, not in this year, but I'll explain why that is. But really focus on 21. If you look through 16 through 21, it stays in a fairly reasonable range here, right? And then it goes up almost 3 million, and then another 1.6. And so 24 looked like a lesser expense because of all the stop loss money we get. And I think at about every treasurer's report, I kept saying, it looks good, but it's lying to you, and it sure was. So what happened here is there was less stop loss, and then I'll hand out the last 3 months summary of health insurance, but July was really high, and then August was the highest we've ever seen. So that's what, and so this is a cash basis of like June through July, but we report things on an accrual basis, so the July and August ended up coming back and still impact. And the one thing that's unusual, like in the August bill, let's say it's $1.5 million, there's normally 2 or 3, 400,000 that relates to June. This time it was 1.3 million of August's bill that related to June expenses. So I had to take all of July and the 1.3 million in August and send it back to June. So that's really what kind of got us there right at the end. Because it was trending okay for a good portion of that year. What'd I do? I clicked something, okay. So, every year I kind of talk about uncertainties and the trend in CPPRT funding going forward. Hopefully that's level and not on this list. But obviously healthcare, what happens with inflation, at some point interest rates are going to go down. I have it about a 20%, 18 to 20% drop this year, and then just rough projection, another 20% next year. We talked about Medicaid and the federal cuts that will trickle to the state and eventually to us. I don't know how much that is, but I didn't cut Medicaid this year, but I'm projecting some for next year to go down. So I'm going to go through the nitty-gritty of the spreadsheet too, but any questions right off the top before I do that?
Incredibly helpful to put things into at least as easy as this is to digest.
Hopefully I can keep giving you more information here.
How much, Josh, are we getting from the solar field for income?
That's a great question. So we got the upfront
Did you get the chance
$50,000.
to take the dry conference?
I have $35,000 in the budget.
Make sure you get a great night's
you were
sleep though,
speaking.
because it goes
Reach out
on for a
about
while.
what that will be. So
It's
I'm gonna
very
say
important.
I don't think it's more than 35, but
Don't
the other thing about the solar field is we'll get the 10% off once that electricity starts rolling in too. So I have to figure out exactly, but the amount in there should be pretty close.
And did our property taxes all get assessed? Everybody got another assessment so that they've all jumped up? Does that make a major difference?
So the percentage of, so this is, you mind if I answer this question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So when the value of your property taxes go up, what that does is lower the rate. It's an inverse relationship. So if your property, like they've been going up 10%, that doesn't mean your property taxes go up 10%. It means your rate goes down 10%. Really what it should be is the cost of living that we levy. That what's, give or take. I mean, everyone's valuation is a little bit different, but in general, that's how, it should have an inverse relation. So that helps make sense. So if you guys open up this attachment,
What's the name of that one?
tentative budget.
All right.
Just the first one.
Yes. Would you mind
33%
passing
chance
that
of
out?
picking the right one.
So I'm passing out the summary of the last 3 months for the health insurance, just so you guys can kind of see how much more it was. So I'll hit some of the highlights between last year and this year. We already talked about CPPRT. So I'm on the Ed Fund local revenues. You guys there?
Ed Fund local sources.
All right.
Golden Mobile Homes.
So on that line 1230 CPPRT, that's where you can see what we budgeted there. A handful of rows down is the interest, or the 18% decrease there. If you look to the second to the bottom, the miscellaneous at 636, that has some of that U of I coal workers revenue as a miscellaneous local revenue that we were doing with Nick Stange's program. So if you flip to the next page of state sources, that top one, the evidence-based funding, that is where the 644,000 extra comes in. The line down from there, the private facility tuition, that went from 970 down to 825. So that we had that roughly at 1.1 million because we're paying more tuition and it dropped. So I dropped it again this year because the state. So that one was almost 300,000 off on the revenue projection there. That was one of the bigger offages. So really other than that, the bottom teacher vacancy grant, we just didn't spend all of that, so that lowered the revenue and the expenses, so that's fine, just kind of highlighting that. If you flip to the next page on federal sources, and you take a look at 4620 IDEA Part B flow through, you'll notice that came in quite a bit over budget on the revenue. So sometimes mid-year there's a rollover amount, either a carryover or additional funds. So if that happens after the budget, that'll be more revenue, but it'll also be more expenses. So when you look at some of the expenses, you'll see those came in over budget, and some of that is the additional grant funds that came in. We ended up last year at 62,000 over the Medicaid budget, which is great because we were a little nervous there for a minute, and we ended up coming in. So I pretty much just kept it level with where we were last year, so about 62,000 down. Hopefully we can hit that again. The next section down, the transfers, that is the 350,000. that is the money coming from transportation to help offset the workbook large purchase for this year. So revenue-wise, the revenues are up about $1.8 million. So if you flip to the next one, it begins the salaries and benefits. So on the 120, the temp salaries, I had indicated midway through the year that, you can see in the budget, I had projected that to come down a little bit, and it didn't come down at all. So we got rid of half of the long-term subs, and it didn't bring that cost down. Now, the regular salaries came in about 200,000 higher, which is about 0.38%. So that combined made the salaries about 480,000 more. So right now, I have the salaries projected at about $100,000 increase, 64,000, and that is due to all the positions that we did not fill. So because of when we settled the contract, we don't have all of our salary spreadsheets up to date like we would at this point since we finished that 3 days before we posted the budget. So based on the info we have of the positions we didn't fill, this is my best estimate right now. We'll get those spreadsheets done and I'll make any tweaks at the final one because there were a lot of positions. And there are a lot of people that worked really hard to try and not fill those positions the best we could, including Shelley's office and principals and Dr. Yarbrough. Just kind of the first step in the process of, this deficit. So under the benefits section, you'll notice the 222 medical insurance went from 13.3 to 16.4. That's 3.1 million more on the health insurance there. So if you look at this year's projection, it shows just about $500,000 more. And what I did is I took last year's expense, I added 7%, and then I started backing off things like the changes that we bargained, the additional premiums, our stop loss cost went down 200. So I upped it 7% and then brought back the other things we know of. Now the caveat being, if the bills are anywhere near 2.5 million a month, then this isn't going to be correct. But hopefully we see this level off in September. So.
Does this have anything to do with the clinic costs, or is this just insurance?
So the clinic cost is in here. And so there is some Zero card, yes. There is some net cost to that. We paid for 7 months of the clinic last year, so we have to pay for 5 more before it's in a full cycle. So I added 7%, added that, and then I backed off all the negatives to still come up with this number. So it is in there. So that's kind of the highlight on the salaries and benefits. So for the purchase services, that came in a decent amount over. We had approved that interventionist. I don't know if you guys remember that in September. I did not get that one in there. That was a one-time, so that's gone for this year. There were some 6th grade projects, and then there was the IDEA rollover funds too, which was the additional grant. This is where it come out on the expense side. So if you flip to the next page, under supplies for this year, you'll see the textbooks, workbooks at $610,000. That is the $350 I'm trying to offset with that transfer in there. And then after that, I think it's 122, so it's a much more reasonable number after this year. We get that initial, and that was our shipping cost, the teacher cost, and the first-year student cost on that. So if you get on to other expenditures, under tuition, that one came in $222,000 over budget. Those are outplaced kids and the tuition that we pay for that. So that's always just something we kind of keep an eye on too. If you flip to the next page and look at the transfers. So last year's transfer was 2.25 million. Some of that was CTE, other projects. It went down to 850,000 in 25, down to 565 the current year, and I currently have that as a projection of 0 transfer next year. So that will also help the ed fund next year too. So that is the summary of the ed fund and all the revenues and expenses.
All right, let's go to tort. No.
The other ones will be quicker, but that one had quite a bit to it.
I'm kidding.
Do you guys?
Are we getting a little more serious at all about overtime salaries? Or are we just kind of going, hey, you have to leave, you have to get out of here, and then just, with people with like emergency things?
Yeah, sure. So we've put in place a pretty tight approval process for overtime. So there are times of the year, for example, HR is getting all the salaries entered so we can pay people. And so we try and keep that down as much as possible. Sometimes there's overtime for paras helping kids. So yeah, I mean, there's there's not a free-for-all on overtime. And sometimes overtime is hard because it could be like temporary salaries, or there could be a training, and there could be a lot of things that go into that. Like solid voluntary overtime is really, it's really just in those highlight times where someone really has a giant report due. Is that fair? Do you
Yeah,
guys,
there's
you
really
guys
not
see that
much.
too?
Rollover time with Skyward when everybody has to be
Yeah.
out and you have to do it on different hours. and-
HR entering contracts with
Yeah,
negotiation or
especially
stuff like that.
but last year we didn't really have any. So in a collective bargaining year though, when it comes down to an August date, we don't know what it will be. So in order to get people paid on time, my folks gotta work 60 hours to get it done.
I was thinking mostly like the hourly employees, you know, your contracted employees, but I know your hourlies, you know, you gotta stay after to get the tables cleaned or something, and it's like, no,
Sure.
you gotta
We
fill
don't
this
have a
in.
whole lot of that.
And so we will see, like, if a kid is brought back to a school, you might have a half an hour of a secretary staying with the kid, or, you know, little things like that. But in general, and that process has been updated to be online, so where the workflow goes through Frontline that way. So it's nice, it just hits instead of paper and things being scanned over, so.
Kind of, sorry, similar to that with the subs, right? We targeted having X amount of permanent subs. We tried cutting back, and then just, you still need subs, right? So then we just hired as many subs as we could get.
Yeah.
We're looking better this year of like getting because permanent subs, if you can budget them properly, are always gonna be better than a one-off sub because there's a relationship that's there with the school.
Sure.
Maybe that has been set and targeted to where we can maximize our permanent subs, knowing kind of where we are for the need for the one-off subs.
Most all of our buildings just have one permanent sub, but we have a really big increase in the pool for our regular district substitutes. We had a big increase in them last year, and they're doing a great job. The thing about those folks is we encourage the ones that come a lot to take longer-term jobs, and it's a cost savings to us to have just district substitutes, are kind of a la carte,
Sure, yeah.
rather than hiring permanent building subs.
So the financial benefit, I'm looking at kind of the benefit to the school, but there's a financial benefit generally doing kind of a one-off or
Yeah.
limited time subs compared to.
A little bit, because we have been increasing those rates
Let's say
too.
there's enough of those that equal one of these, that's how my brain processes
Because we
that.
spent so many years where we didn't have any, we've had to keep up with everyone else and keep those rates, so it's kind of a double-edged sword
Yeah, and
that
I would
way.
say about half of them take benefits, because
Of
benefits
the
are a
permanent
big
subs.
cost.
And Kurt, I don't know if this is the question you were asking, but if they're not needed in a building, they are shared among other
Yes.
buildings.
Oh, I get that
Oh, okay.
completely. My thought is if you see yourself spending X million on one-off subs, and for that same cost, I can get a permanent sub to the building, to the district, whatever.
Sure.
There's intrinsic value of them being in the district and being used to it and being day-to-day versus finding something. I know there's a
And-
cost to that, but making
Yeah.
sure that calculation is factored in.
That's the exact thing, though. When I looked at that, it looked like a couple $100,000 drop, but it didn't reflect through that way. That's why I budgeted a lower amount, because I'm like, we just reduced 13 positions.
Yeah.
And they are more expensive than a one-off sub, but it stayed flat. For whatever reason, more days, or, you know, there's all kinds of things we can dig into that. But about halfway through the year, I went, oh yeah, no, it's not coming down.
But we are keeping an eye on situations just
Yeah.
like this scenario.
Yeah,
Yeah,
being
and I
on
look
that
at
is
the absentee rates daily, so to see where needs are.
So there's no chance that, kind of like our music teachers that are elementaries could have one sub for 2 buildings, or, you know, float around between buildings and, you know, have maybe 6 subs per district instead of 11 subs. You know, if that's something that could be cut in half, or we really need them so badly that we need 1 per building.
I think we really need them so badly.
I mean, think about it, how many teachers are in an average building, you know, the odds of a sickness.
To your
Spouse
point,
of a teacher,
what you
you're all about
said
it.
is what I thought was gonna happen, and it didn't have any dollar impact. So,
It's just a balancing act. Like I said, like if you're using enough of the single ones, it's a finite thing. Get more that can travel around that Nora district, and if you're not, then take the cost savings.
and it is something, like Terrell said, we should keep an eye on, and we'll keep looking at, but. All right, to Aaron's favorite, tort.
Oh, I was thinking we were gonna skip right over
Oh,
tort.
yeah, well, the tort revenues are pretty just property tax driven. And like I said, this is just funding our workers' comp, our property casualty, building insurance, and all of that. So we are rolling on next year a better workers' comp year than rolling off, so I anticipate it will hopefully level out. But insurance is a racket. So we're in a co-op with 165 other districts. So eventually when they close years, if there's any excess, we will see funds back. And they do use that 165 district as a pooling power to give us really good insurance limits and try and reduce the cost of what it cost us. Because if we went out to the market, it'd be uninsurable or double this rate, I guess. It would be really high. Like I said, I anticipate that this fund will be near or balanced next year. If you go to operations and maintenance, all right, so I do have the interest going down the 20% there. And then to Rebecca's question on the solar field lease revenue, we got the 50,000. They issued it July 1st, but it had to be booked back to last year. So we talked about projects we were gonna do, and there aren't a lot of like new projects in this budget. The one that Dr. Arab and I talked about is updating the LED sign at the high school for about half of what that check was. So because we've been slowly doing things to update, that sign's 20 plus 25 years old.
Wonder, yeah.
It's really old.
She's a sweet one, though.
And if we did that, then half of that check would go to that, and the other half would just roll into the operations budget.
I think the sign's
If you look, we had some, so the $50,000 state grant is property tax relief grant last year, and then we had some federal grants where we did the alarm system or vape detectors. Those grants are pretty much all gone, so no state or federal this year. You do see the $565,000 transferring in from the ed fund to finish covering those projects. The salaries portion does go up $340,000 here, and that's for a couple of reasons. I'm estimating that we will fill a couple of those positions that we were outsourcing, so I did lower the outsource cost. And with the base increase to the custodial group, it was a fairly big increase to the salary line this year. So in the purchase services, we do see that going down a few $100,000. Any other, so to kind of hit that, the O&M projects that I have in here is middle school painting, another hallway. We have 2 hallways left, and that's done. The LED sign, which is offset by the check. We did not put any student desk or chairs in here. Last year, we just started to, 2 years ago, we bought 300 or 400 for the middle school.
Yeah.
Last year we bought 40,000 to begin replacing the high school's portion, and I kind of just, I would love to keep doing that, but I did not put any in here in light of where everything's at. So for capital projects, doing more flooring at the high school because that's going to be, I mean, we got to get the carpet out.
It did look nice. I did see some of them on. It's like a hardwood.
Yeah, it looks nice. I had someone say that there was a mark on it. I gotta do some research.
I think I did notice that too. It's the hallway. As soon as you come in the main entrance, the hallway to the left, there definitely is a scab on there.
That stuff's supposed to be really durable. So the
It
next
does.
few months we'll know if we should just go back to the regular tile.
Who did
or
that?
not. Hagney recommended that as flooring. We normally put the 12 by 12 tile in.
Yeah, correct.
That's
That looks like a
more-
hardwood, like a laminate. Yeah.
Yeah, but we got the most durable one. It should be okay, but we'll know here.
I think it's an installer error. We should get that. No, I'm just kidding. I think somebody dropped something on it.
Well, the room that I saw, we had like the felt feet on the chairs, but not the tables, and the table was leaving a mark. So I asked Chandler to go over, see if that'll clean up, get
Put
something.
tennis balls on everything.
Well, that's kind of where it looks great, but I want to make sure it holds up a long time because that doesn't really do us any good if it's not durable. So we'll know in the next couple of months how that's trending. One of my daughter's classes, and then I'm looking at the floors like, how they look.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I was combing them. I was in there.
The only other project that I'm recommending is to redo the concrete in front of the high school. It is a trip hazard and broken there. That's roughly $25,000. They're in those square panels, but they're chipping away and some are uneven. So I think that's just a safety issue. Next time you're there, take a look at it.
We're talking all the sidewalk and everything, the front door. Grant.
So there's like a half round circle that's there, just taking the, and they have like a concrete barrier. We would put new ones of those in. And then after that, maybe in the future, that asphalt that's there that everyone walks in front of, right in front of the high school, is starting to give out there too. So, but the concrete, like we've seen multiple people have a fall there, and we need to update that. So that's really it for new projects. So I'll just run through the rest of these quick. The debt service fund, like we talked about, is 53,000 to the good, has an ending fund balance of 409,000. Am I good?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So what he's handing out is just those last 3 months compared to last year's 3 months, and that we spent the extra 1.7 million over those 3 months alone. So for transportation, like I mentioned, their whole difference in their budget was just the less state funds. In the local sources under line 1990, I have the 350,000 for the ComEd electric bus funds. They gave us an extra 50,000 more than we had thought we would get. For the state sources, we have 4 million. The claim shows 4.4 million, but I don't trust that, so we took 10% off of that. I had Don reach out to the state director on trying to gauge, and we got no reply back. They're not commenting on that at all. So,
We're definitely going to be short.
Yeah, well, right, but it's 10%, and that, they wouldn't.
So 10% might not be.
It might not be. So if you flip to the next page under federal sources, we have the 400,000 for the EPA. Oh, that's 7,400. I have to take off the 400 because that went for the chargers. That's not a big deal. And then the IRS is approximately 30,000 since we have 750,000 now covered between ComEd and the EPA. We've begun the IRS process. That is a process though, and so it's in the works. So if you look at sale of equipment, you'll see since 2023 till today, Don's added $700,000.
Of which we lose 70%.
Of which we lose 70%, yes.
That's just rude.
But, you know, as part of when, you know, Kurt and I talked so much about that cycle, and this was higher than we had projected, so that is positive news, even though we lose a portion of that.
That's just straight money. That's not talking about all, you know, looking at overtime or less work for mechanics that have to work on aging equipment.
And we do have 2 mechanics now instead of 3. So there's a direct savings there too. So for transfers for other funds, I know we had talked about transferring in to help offset those buses, and there is no transfer in this year. Because I think I said that last time that we were phasing that out to transportation. So really, the other main parts are that under the capital outlay, which is a few pages down, it shows 2.25 million because the electric buses are in there, but we also see the revenue side of it. So even with the $350,000 transfer out, the approximate gain in that fund is $626,000 this year. But that will level out more next year. So IMRF, I've already hit the high point on this on the next page. The $125,000 is scheduled spend down a little bit because we have 2.35 million in there on a budget of 3.2 million. So we have almost 70% in there. So that goes back to the ed fund and helps that way. Capital projects fund, budget-wise, was really close this year. If you flip to the second page for expenses, we had budgeted $6,039,000. It came in at $6,031,000. So we were $8,000 off there. So that was positive because there was a lot, as you know, there was 10 projects coming and going, so we're trying to keep it all straight, and so that came out well. Working cash, really nothing going out there. Life safety, so the interest is going to be up higher because we still have some of that bond funds once the roofs are done. So I am anticipating a little bit more interest there, plus we're getting $160,000 from the property taxes. So, like I said, middle school roof, H9 roof, dust collector, $75,000 of other life safety projects are what that expense is. And that is my quick-ish run through.
Air quotes.
45 minutes later.
I'm sorry if that was too much, or you guys need more.
How much did that?
Yeah, great detail.
We haven't bid it yet, but 535 is the current estimate. But I have a lot.
Revenues and expenditures.
I'm currently waiting for ISB to approve that on the life safety side.
All right, so but where do you think we're gonna fall?
For life safety?
No. We went through all this, and we went through the different, you know, some deficits, some pluses, so at the end of the day, pluses versus minuses equals.
So a couple things about that, like the capital project one is to spend down to zero, so, and the life safety is its own bonding source. So obviously the ed fund at 2.9 million makes that a pretty sizable deficit there. So, but outside of the ed fund, that transportation amount eats up all the rest of the deficit, so 2.6 total outside of life safety and capital projects.
There's our goal.
Yes. And we're looking at what the future salaries, benefits, what revenues are going down, trying to take everything into account and keep working towards the goal of zero or having.
Efficiencies of our buildings, we're looking at everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if there's nothing else, that is my report this evening.
All right, let me catch you back up. That means it would be Dr. Shelley Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Sterling. This evening, I have the recommendation to approve the personnel agenda and addendum. And you should have found that addendum in front of you. Tonight, we have 38 employments, 45 transfers, that's quite a lot, 21 resignations, and 2 requests for leave of absence. That's it for me this evening.
Thank you so much. Dr. Troyer?
All right, thank you. I have no FOIA requests for this one. I will have one for the next one, which is good. But I think we are in alignment with wanting this, which I know
There it is again.
I know Ms. Krippner is excited and mentioned it about 5 different times, so in case you forgot. But no, just seriously, just want to wish everyone a great start to the school year, staff, students, administrators. A lot of hard work has been put into getting everything ready, and I'm excited for our students to get there. So,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve the personal agenda with addendum?
Motion.
Second.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye. Mr. Sterling?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. McKnight?
Absolutely.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
I don't know if they just could always put on there as default, but I don't believe there was.
City student travel.
Yeah, correct. I can go back through that, so we can go through that one, we're good. Can I get a motion to approve the facility request?
Motion.
Second.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye. Mr. Sterling?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. McKnight?
Yes.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve the first reading of policy updates from August 13th, 2025 policy committee?
Motion.
Second.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye. Mr. Sterling?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. McKnight?
Yes.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve resolution declaring surplus property?
Motion?
Second.
Mr. Sterling?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. McKnight?
Aye.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve school improvement plans for Parker Center, McChesney Elementary, Maple Elementary, Marquette Elementary, Olson Park Elementary, Rawson Elementary, Rockcut Elementary, Windsor Elementary, and Harlem High School?
Motion?
Second. Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. McKnight?
Agreed.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye. Mr. Sterling?
Aye. Can I get a motion to approve FY26 tentative budget resolution and set public hearing for September 22nd, 2025 at 5:40 PM?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. McKnight?
Affirmative.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Meeks?
Synonyms for the word yes.
Aye. Mr. Sterling?
We know.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye. Did you say yes?
Did you say
Yes.
yes?
You know.
Yes, I said yes.
I said aye. Can I get a motion to approve a one-year agreement with HMH Amira for purchase of student licenses for grades 1 through 2 for a cost of $12,600 paid with title grant funds?
Motion.
Second.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye. Mr. Sterling?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. McKnight?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve a one-year agreement with HMH Waggle for the purchase of student licenses for grades 3 through 5 for a cost of $150 paid with title grant funds.
Motion. Second.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye. Mr. Sterling?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. McKnight?
Aye.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve, to adopt resolution to place school facility sales tax referendum on the ballot?
Motion?
Second.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye. Mr. Sterling?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. McKnight?
Let the people decide, so aye.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Mrs. Carlson?
No.
Any announcements and discussion?
Just real quick, I forgot to mention too, TH Foods. Jason and I did a tour there. If you've never been in a place that's really hot, go there. But thank you to TH Foods for donating, I think it was approximately 50 backpacks filled with supplies.
I saw that, I forgot to say that.
So that was nice.
It's a great meal, but.
Yeah, so
The
thank
place
you to
always
TH
smells
Foods.
good.
So what was the reason they had you all in cover-ups and everybody else wasn't?
They gave, so afterwards, they gave us a tour. So we took the picture with the backpacks, but then Jason and I had the pleasure of getting a tour of the facility.
They just wanted us to sweat.
Did you get
Yeah,
the snack?
that too, yeah.
It's gotta be
We did
warm
get
in
some
there.
snacks.
So the rest of the people that were in the picture didn't go on the tour?
They didn't go on the tour, it was just
Gotcha.
Jason and I.
Just-
Yeah.
It hasn't been announced yet. They are working on potentially like a 2-pallet donation to supply all of our teacher lounges with some of those.
Oh, that's
snacks.
awesome. Crackers are amazing.
It's been announced now.
I sure hope it's all through.
They need to do hot
No
bags.
one knows is right there.
They need to do like hot bags, like Mrs. Fisher's and stuff, because I would go there and buy some hot bags and some crackers.
Or we also get Mrs. Fisher's in this, or the people.
Old salty.
Can I get a motion to go into executive session to discuss employment of personnel 5 ILCS 120-2C1?
Motion. Second.
Mrs. Meeks? Aye. Mr. Sterling?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. McKnight?
Aye.
Mrs. McKinney?
Aye.
Mrs. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
5 minutes.
If everyone goes, does everyone want a Bonnie pin?
You know,